Welcome to our first live this year. And our first guest is Hoda Zekavat. Hoda is my friend, a fellow coach, a poet, a storyteller. I read on Hoda's page what she is, and she's everything. For me, she's the sunshine. Whenever you need a good mood, you have to watch one of Hoda's lives on her profile in Instagram or Facebook somewhere. You come away with a positive feeling. That is my vitamin pill every day.
That's so sweet.
Hoda, why don't you share a little bit of your story and how did you come to learn so much about the topic what we are discussing today, the masculine and feminine energies inside us?
Okay, so hello there. Thank you, first of all, so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here, and thank you for that introduction. That was so sweet. So yeah, Hoda here, and I am very passionate about the masculine and feminine energies and their balance and how that can show up in our lives and its effect in our lives, because I was born in the Middle East and taken to Canada and was raised in Canada. And then as a teenager, I was taken back to the Middle East. And I experienced a great deal in the Middle East that kind of threw me into this passionate seeking of some answers, because I felt such an imbalance in the outside world when it came to men and women, when it came to people who showed up in the roles of men and women. And there was as I grew up and as I studied and as I took on different roles in my life myself, from my observations, I realized that people are in immense pain when it comes to their closest relationships, when it comes to obviously the main element behind that pain, which is the roots that we come from, which is our families, and their roots and their roots and their roots, and it's just never ending. And so this became a huge part of my research. Like, where does this pain and suffering come from? Why is it that we can't seem to understand each other? And why is there so much hostility? Why is there so much hostility between why do they end up, why do so many men and women in relationships end up hostile? And that became something that I pursued with a great deal of passion and zeal. And my own background obviously is very tumultuous, and I've been through a lot when it comes to relationships. I've been in really inside of different families, and from my experience and from what I have observed throughout the years, I think that a lot of what Dr. Carl Gustav Jung says about the masculine and feminine energies is right on the money. Yeah.
By the way, I say it as a little remark here. Later on, everybody, you have to visit Hoda's website. First of all, it's like chocolate cake to your eyes. It's so beautiful. And secondly, Hoda has put her story out there, which is like a novel. It's beautifully written. You've got to go and check it out. It's so amazing.
Hello. So there's lots of people waving and saying hello, and absolutely excited for everything that's going to come today. So
yeah, I asked, preparing for this live, I asked my children last night, what is masculine and feminine? And they had no concept whatsoever. They looked at me blank and said, what do you mean, mommy? And then we discussed it a little, and I started asking them that what is masculine in their eyes and what is more feminine, trait or action. And we went through like chopping wood and chopping onions and and all these kind of things until we came to giving a hug, and my boy said, that's masculine. So that surprised me. But Hoda, would you clear it up for us? How do you describe what is masculine energy and what is feminine energy inside us?
Okay, so that's a concept that's incredibly complex. That wouldn't be something that you could say in a couple of sentences. But I can, based on what you said, say that it's kind of like the yin and yang. And I'm sure that everybody's familiar with the yin and the yang. It's one circle. It's not separable. Everything, every action that you look at, like the examples that you gave, like chopping wood, like hugging, etc. When you zoom into these, every single one has a masculine and feminine aspect to it that makes it what it is as a whole. So hugging is not masculine or feminine, it's both. The action of putting your physical arms around someone could be very simplistically described as masculine. The feeling that you allow yourself to be open to experiencing is a feminine experience. So even that could be divided down in further and further, but very simplistically, a hug is both. Chopping onions is both. Taking a knife in your hand, in your physical hand, a physical knife, and actually chopping on a board is a physical action that is masculine. But being present in that moment with chopping and knowing what you're chopping and allowing yourself to feel the experience of chopping and hearing the of the onions and really being present, that's a feminine energy, and they go hand in hand. Imbalance happens when your head is somewhere else while you're chopping. Imbalance happens when you think about doing that. You love the idea of chopping onions and making food for yourself, but you don't get into action. Are you with me?
Yeah. By the way, again, coming back, Hoda did a live about it. And now whenever I go in the kitchen cooking, everything I do is like always, is it masculine or feminine? Like,
you're doomed for life.
Yeah. Because Hoda said that when you listen to the sizzle on the pan, that listening is feminine. I love that. But now, Hoda, what does it mean if these energies inside us are balanced? And how does that show up? And what means if they are not in balance inside us? Whoops. And what does that mean? I'm going to go after it under my desk, Hoda. You can start.
That's a great question. So I'm going to paint a picture for you. Imagine a body that is neither male or female. It's just a human. It has no gender. But it has two legs, and those legs help it to move forward, one step after another. Those legs can be defined, again, very simplistically, as one of them being the feminine energy and the other one being the masculine energy. Your life as a human being is that non-gender human being, creature, this beautiful creature that is living on the earth and is here for a reason and has a purpose, a mission, and wants to move forward, have momentum to accomplish something, to create something out in the world as the creator that it is. Now, one leg is feminine, one leg is masculine. Moving forward is smooth and consistent when both of them are working together one step at a time. So like it's not, they're both in motion at the same time. If you pay attention to walking next time you're walking and it's smooth, you're not thinking about it, you see that while you're picking up the other leg is landing, and before it lands, the other leg is picking up again. And it's just this beautiful cyclical momentum that you don't even think about. They're just so hand in hand. And the way it works is balance in your life in the masculine and feminine is one of your legs is your feminine energy of inspiration and ideas and connectedness. Like, I want to do this. I have an idea of doing something, of creating something in the world. The other leg is, okay, let's actually get into action and pick up the phone and call the person that we need to. Let's pick up the pen and write the idea down. Let's create the website. Let's do things to bring it into fruition. And then again, a new idea, and then again, action. And then again, a new inspiration, and then again, taking action. And this is consistency in moving forward in both trust, which is the feminine, and planning and doing things, which is the masculine. Two things that unfortunately for too long have been considered contradictory, but they're not only not contradictory, they're complementary and in need of each other. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm now, of course, my head is going. And so when I think, so that's a very clear example, actually. There is obviously periods in your life when you just dream and don't do anything and procrastinate. You're in your feminine. And then there are periods when you just take action and don't maybe plan. And that's when things are a little bit unbalanced. What comes to mind is that single parents often, I don't know, Cary, you can chime in here, but as a single mother, I felt myself that I'm all the time in action, and that wore me out. It wears you out mentally and physically, because I was always moving, like there was no downtime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Keely, you're right. Like and I think so often, and that example, Hoda, was so good, right? And the need for balance in both energies moving forward. Like, such a great explanation. So thank you for that. And then, but I agree that in different times, and that's where I think, and I'll get you a question here, Hoda. But it's like in our lives, people get so focused on one energy or the other, or thinking that we have that expectation that we have to fulfill one more than other based on whatever our beliefs are and things like that. And so in coming back to it, the importance of having that balance, and even as single parents, right, when that comes in, whether we're aware of it or not, sometimes saying like, oh, okay, well, now as a single dad, I need to make sure that there's feminine energy in my household and the lessons I teach my kids and how I act. But then a lot of times, even in the groups that I coach with single fathers and single mothers, especially in the dad's group, you've got to be that tough guy. Like, it's like, oh, anything feminine, I can't have that. I've got to be the dad. I can't cry. I can't do this. And I think sometimes it goes so far off the one end of the scale that imbalance actually it's a travesty to our children and our, not only our own lives moving forward, but in what the example we set for our kids and everything else. So I think that absolutely it is, as single parents, but not just single parents, but anybody like in their lives has that imbalance. So my question, Hoda, to you is can you give an example of how, even as a person or just something that kind of jumps out to you, where having that imbalance, using your analogy of walking. I mean, obviously, if you're in balance, you're going to limp, you're going to go in circles, whatever that is. But what's some examples that practically that because we've got lots of people commenting, so I'm going to go back and read some of those comments and hopefully share some of that with us in a minute. But what's an example that you've got of someone who's like, that doesn't know that they're imbalanced, but then you give this example, it's like, holy smokes, like that's me. I've been doing that. What are some examples, like common ones that you've maybe seen that you can share with some of our people watching?
There are some concrete examples, like procrastination, like self-sabotage, like burnout.
So what is burnout? I'm being in my masculine if I let myself burn out.
Yes, you could.
And if I'm procrastinating, I'm in my feminine.
You could say that. Yes, very good. Yeah. So when you're reaching burnout, you've been just taking action, right? Lots of entrepreneurs these days are like, I need to make $1 million. I need to hit my million first. I need to hit my million. So it's like everything else is just irrelevant until I make that million. So that's just constantly neglecting the in your life, you know.
The whale song.
I don't like for you, you know, like just sitting down and like taking a shower is just and then getting it to your desk to work, rather than, okay, you know what, on this Sunday I'm gonna soak my feet in some salt and lavender, and I'm actually going to give my feet, my own feet, out of self-love, a foot rub and thank them for the service that they're giving me. This is a beautiful thing to do. And the energy that it gives you in return, so that you can get into action and get at your desk and get the work done again, is manifold. It just, and that's where, again, the feminine energy comes into play. It's like, trust me, just slow down for a little bit, and then I'm going to give you so much energy and inspiration to move forward. So that's burnout. Yeah. And then you burn out, and it's just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm shutting down, because it's like hopping on one leg for so long. That leg just is in too much pain. It can't function anymore. So it's just, I need to sit down now. So procrastination is just like, procrastination is very complex again, but if it's just daydreaming and thinking about all the things you want to do and not doing anything, then that's being in the feminine. Yes, for sure. And that's, again, hopping on the other leg.
So good. I love that, and that balance is so important once again, and it's a recurring theme in absolutely every area of our lives. I want to just touch in on our comments for a second, and again, and Hoda, you mentioned that inspiration and that creativity in taking time to just pause and wait. So often, I think that we do get caught up, and so whether it's moms or dads, or whether people have kids or not, but we get caught up in that, I need to grind. And that's the thing, right? Go, sleep when you're dead. Like, you keep going. And I think so often people can get caught up in that masculine energy of, here's a pile of gravel. I'm going to move the pile of gravel over here, shovel underneath, or sweep underneath it, move the pile of gravel back, because at least I'm doing something. And we're not actually accomplishing anything. Right. So when it comes back to it, being in the moment, having that creativity. And I think the key that you said that I absolutely love the term is inspired action, as opposed to just action. As a single parent, how do we find that feminine energy that we need, and that balance between? What are some things that, when we find that we're in that rat race where we feel like we're going, what are some ways that we can just stop and put ourselves in that? Maybe some tools or some ideas or concepts.
So a question comes up for me, for all the parents here. The reason behind the hustle, is it to show your kids that you're doing your best for them? Is it an appearance that you want to keep for them, or not? This is a very important question to ask for yourself.
That's a good question. But what I'm thinking is that, when I was a single parent, that I often didn't really have a choice. I knew that if I'm not doing it, then there is nobody else to do it, and there is a certain number of things you have to do, and but yeah, burnout is always like one hop away. Yeah, you are hopping on one foot, in that sense that you are really unbalanced, really tired, and it is even more tiring because you are hopping on that one foot and not using the other foot. And that's true.
It's painful.
It is. Yeah. And you are unbalanced, and yeah.
Okay.
I think the key with that, Külli, is you find that even people, and Hoda, even people that you work with as well, like, I mean, and I found the same, is people that have kind of, and I know it's cliche, but have done the work, or that have kind of looked at inside and taken that time to reflect a little bit or learn and grow, are a lot more. And I think the key to that is awareness of where we are in those moments, right? And when you have that awareness, you have the ability to realize where you're at, and then if you have the tools to move forward with that and balancing those energies, but right, and you that overwhelm, that sense of overwhelm, right? And then and I'm just looking to, holy smokes, the comments are flying here, so I'm going to catch up on the comments a bit. Maybe you can kind of touch on that, Hoda, for us.
Yeah, sure. So for referring to what Külli said, yeah, like there's a lot to do, and as a single parent, and it's just hustle, and you don't have time. right? To like slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have time to slow down is a false belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? And I just want to throw just a little thing in there to hold it so good. Whenever anyone, and not just in regards to masculine and feminine energy, but whenever in our lives we sit back and we say, I don't have time for that, that's a lie.
It is.
That's a lie we tell ourselves. It's change that right there. Instead of saying, I don't have time for that, say it's not a priority for me. Because if it's a priority, we make time for it.
Exactly.
And when we reframe that, wow, does that change a lot of things.
Yeah. So to really paint a picture for our wonderful, beautiful viewers, yeah, to make this clear, like add a little dash of pragmatic to it, yeah. What is the practical thing to do when you're making lunch for your kids and they're just, you know, like mom, or daddy, and you've got to get to work? And is it possible to put down the bread and the sandwich and the lunch bag and whatever, look at your kids or kid and say, grounding time, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. I swear to you, you know what? You don't have time for 2 minutes? 1 minute, 60 seconds. Take your children's hands, sit on the floor, just drop to the floor. You can call it whatever you like. You can call it gravity time. Drop to the floor, allow gravity to give you energy for 1 minute, and just sit for 60 seconds and just breathe and say, okay, breathe in, breathe out. Give everybody a kiss. Get back to hustling.
So good.
How does that sound?
Oh, okay. Hoda, you like vibed into the comments here? Because Chrissy even like right before you said that, like typed in, she goes, I'm not a parent, but she feels that with everything going on, if she even stops for a second, everything will just fall apart. And I think what you just said there, that I think if we don't take that awareness, that moment to stop, even for 5 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, whatever that is, things will fall apart, but without us even knowing. So I think that's so important. What a great insight there. For someone that's never done meditation or found that quiet time, what's a way, because I know before I started meditating, it was like, well, I don't have a mountain to go sit on and I can't sit cross-legged for more than 15 seconds, or, so it's like, what does that look like for you, for someone to start meditating without saying I meditate, but just finding quiet time? What's something that you can give us a few tips on that?
Well, first of all, don't make it a big thing to achieve again. See, the thing that we do, the thing that we're used to doing as 21st century creatures is we blow up the image as like going to the Alps and becoming a monk, That's meditation. That's mindfulness. These are all just images that have been fed to us through the past decade or so, through media, through fads. So it's like, what is mindfulness? Like, just be curious and just strip your mind away from everything that you've been taught about mindfulness, and really just think, okay, how can I be mindful without all of those images of achievement and accomplishment, and put all of those thoughts away. Pay attention to one thing for like just a baby step, right? The first thing that needs to be done for you is to take a baby step. Your baby step is to pay attention to your breath. So like, you're working. So you know how on our phones we have these reminders for like drinking water, right? Ding, drink water. Okay, put a little ding once a day in the middle of work. Don't set a time for it. Scatter it around during your day. Get a little ding at 12 o'clock tomorrow. The next day, get a little ding at 7:36. The next day, get a little ding at 5:23 p.m. So when you hear that ding, stop, drop, do nothing, and become mindful of your breath for 3 breaths. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was cool. And then start working again. Simple.
Thank you, Hoda. I'm gonna lead us back to the masculine and feminine, if
Yes.
I may.
Okay.
So my next question is that how do we show up in our relationships if the masculine and the feminine inside me is already off balance?
How do I show up in my relationships?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, this is a very, very, very important topic, I think, for anybody, whether they are in a relationship or not.
It's any relationship, right? It could be also a relationship with my children.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yes. So whatever energy that you're more in,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be communicating to the person that you're talking with from that energy.
Mm-hmm.
What is a relationship? How do you show up in a relationship? What is a relationship? I would love to know what your idea of a very basic definition of a relationship is. We're not talking about romantic, just with anyone.
A connection.
Connection. Okay. And how does that connection show up?
It's either deep or superficial. And yeah, good question. It's a connection. Yeah. And now very good question, that I'm thinking that when I'm more mindful and more present, that connection is obviously deeper.
Okay. Could you be connected without talking forever? It's a possibility. Everything is possible. But can you be in a relationship with, for example, your second son without ever talking to him again?
No.
Okay. So a living dynamic relationship has a prerequisite or a requisite, and that requisite, that requirement, is communication. Talking with each other. There are many ways of communicating with each other, but the one that makes us human beings very special and separate from all the other creatures of the earth is opening our mouths and talking to each other, making an effort to convey, to communicate what is on my mind that is not on your mind. Right? So that you can understand me and we can connect. Because the more we understand each other, the more we can connect. How can we understand each other? By communicating effectively. Effective communication is determined by where you are in your masculine and feminine energies. That has a huge effect on the communication of individuals. So when there's an imbalance, communication is going to be difficult. When there's an imbalance, the number one place that it shows up in, is your communication. If you're fighting all the time with someone, anyone, there's definitely an imbalance of energies. So one person is most likely too masculine, one person is too feminine. And that's
yeah. And you can touch on this, but I just, for the people that are watching and for our group right now, and even a question in the back of my head, because that, as a tool for someone in our group that maybe has experienced that, whether in a relationship right now, whether it's with a romantic relationship, with their family, whatever that is, a business relationship, and they feel they're in that place right now where it's like, yeah, like that's Hoda just described me, like we're fighting all the time, we're this and this and this. What can you do to figure out where that imbalance is? Is it like, is the masculine feminine imbalance on my side, or is it on their side? And or where, how do we determine that? What do we do to fix? Because obviously I think the biggest thing most people do is just point fingers. Well, you need to do this, you need to change, right? So what are some tools that we could use to analyze and diagnose that, and then move forward with fixing, repairing, whatever that, like, from there?
The first 50% of the way, Cary, is awareness. Like, to be aware that there's something that smells wrong here. There's something going on here that needs some work. And a lot of the time, one person will be willing to admit that and the other person might not be. that's a whole different complication. That's I couldn't come up with anything there. Like, it's like, okay, for the person who's aware, you would need to really go to counseling, get help, talk to someone and see where you want to go from there. But in a relationship where both partners are aware, so let's set the presupposition on that. Both partners are aware that there's something wrong and they really want to make it work, right? In that situation, the fact that they're both aware that something is wrong is 50% of the way. Another like 30-40% of the way is to actually learn some tactics and techniques of communication. So willingness, femininity. Learning, taking a course, masculine. And then practicing, being willing to practice with each other. So I'm going to leave you with a gem. I'm going to leave everybody here with a gem. Please Google or YouTube or do some research on NVC, nonviolent communication. I actually have workshops on this and they're spectacular. They're just great. There's a genius behind this who devoted his entire life to creating this method. And he would go in the Middle East and he would sit between the Muslims and the Christians who wanted to kill each other. And after a long day of NVC work, they would hug and kiss each other and go home. Like that, if that's not success, I don't know what is, So I really believe in NVC. And I think that it's something that needs to be taught in schools. We need to raise awareness on it and practice it. So that's the practical thing that I can leave everybody here with.
Mm-hmm.
Point. What's a way that we can encourage that communication in a romantic relationship, right? Where, the standard guy's like, well, I don't know how you feel. Why don't you just tell me? And the woman says, you should know how I feel. Like that. How do we work on that?
So that again is like, you have a need in every relationship and you want to communicate that need. And when a person loves you, they respect your needs and requests. And we suck at doing that. We're terrible at communicating our needs and making requests and letting each other know what it is that's bothering us. And the root cause of that is first and foremost because we really don't know what our needs and requests are. We just know something is bothering me. There's a worm in my head and I want you to fix it. That's unfair for your partner. And it doesn't make you look like the greatest communicator either. Yeah. So I don't know what's wrong. You figure it out. So
that's going to be my cutout clip for promotion.
So what can we do? I believe truly, and I'm passionate about this, that we all as human creatures are meant to go within and get to know ourselves and our needs first before coming out and trying to communicate it to each other. We're in a hurry in our relationships to say something is bothering me. If we would just calm down and take the time to close the door, lock it, sit down, get present, and really figure out what it is that's bothering me, what it is that's my need, and what it is that is my request. These are the levels of the NVC. What is my need? What is my request? Really? Write it down before spluttering it out in anger. And then, in a calm energy, go and speak to our partners with an awareness of what it is that's bothering us or what it is that we want to request. Most of us don't do the inner work. We just go to each other to fix each other. I'm just bothered by something. We're ready to accuse and point fingers. You did this. You know that party that we went to last night? You acted like such and so, and it pissed me off. And what is that going to do? It's just going to cause, Marshall Rosenberg, the genius behind NVC, he says, as soon as you say you stand on battlegrounds. That's the basic of communication. As soon as you say you stand on battlegrounds. You should be pointing at yourself. Never say you. Say, I felt this way. This is what I saw. Not you made me feel this way. No, own your feeling. I felt this way. Can you clarify? Can you clarify to me that action that I saw? I don't know if it was what you meant or you didn't mean it or why you did it. I just know that I felt this feeling as a result of it. And I want to figure out why and sort this out. So be open, be curious, don't accuse. Avoid saying you did this. This is an accusation. As human creatures, we hate it. We go into defense, and it's going to be a bad day for us both. Does that resonate?
Yeah, such a great tool. And I've like, I mean,
one, state the fact. So we'll make it like you put the cushions on the floor. Right? Now, instead of saying you put the cushions on the floor, when I get back home, the cushions are on the floor. Is that a fact that we can agree on? Yeah, okay, when you get back home every day, the cushions are on the floor. Harmless, fair enough. So after that, a fact that can be agreed on to a good extent. Step 2 is, how does it make me feel? So I feel angered. I feel annoyed that every day when I get back from work, the cushions are on the floor. I love it when the cushions are in place on the couches. When I get back from work, I love to see that my home is organized. So it makes me feel angered when they're on the floor. That's step 2. Step 3, what is my need? So I need the cushions to be on the couches. And then step 4, what is my request? My request of you now this is where you come in. Would you kindly, please, do you think you can collaborate with me on this to keep the cushions on the couches before I get back from work? Now, here's where you've got 2 different offshoots. If it's a yes, great. That's a place of love and respect. I care about you enough to give you what you need right now that you just communicated to me so lovingly. If it's a no, I don't give a damn, you're going to want to think about that relationship long and hard.
That's so good. Thank you, Hoda.
Oh, welcome.
I think,
yeah, what a great example. Thank you.
Yeah. Hoda, do you want to tell very briefly what is the work you do with your clients, and then you put your links later on for your website and for your stuff under the live, right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So what I understand that you actually work with your clients on the masculine and feminine, and to find that sweet point, or what you call it, sweet balance point.
Yes.
You want to say a bit more?
Yes. So what I do is the roots that I just touched upon about, people not knowing themselves and their needs and how to communicate them. This is the heart of my coaching. Is I have a mini course called Who Am I? Like, first to know all the layers that have been built up throughout the years, peel them back, get to the core of who you are, and then begin to show up in the world as that. That's what I do. Which means that, those layers include childhood traumas, the challenges with which we were raised, old beliefs, false beliefs. We peel that back and we try to release the individual from these things one by one, or sometimes collectively, and step into the identity that they want to show up as in the world, and use communication skills and tools to do that.
Thank you.
So welcome. Thank you.
Are we complete for today? Is there something else you want to tell our group? which is all about relationships.
All about relationships. I can leave you with, off the top of my head, coming from a background of a great deal of tumult in my relationships and a great deal of imbalance in my own energies. So owning that. I'm a great believer, and I've devoted my life to this, of love and connection. I believe that that's what we are here to learn to do. And instead of frenziedly searching to do that, we need to calm down and go in and be still to learn to do that. And it starts with breathing. And in your breaths, you will find the balance, the sweet spot of Phalva, as I like to call it, the balance of the masculine and feminine energies. Then it'll begin to show up in your relationships as well, slowly but surely. So keep going with your sincere and honest intention to make relationships work. It's the most beautiful thing that we can do. And that's all.
Thank you, Hoda.
So welcome.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Hoda. That's like, I love it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. This was fun. This was wonderful.
It was fun. Good way to go into the weekend and start chopping the onions, thinking of the masculine and listening to the sizzle and thinking of the feminine.